So picture this. You are building a tech empire right from the ground up, and you hit a massive $1.5 billion valuation in under 3 years.
Right, which is just staggering on its own.
Oh, completely staggering.
Yeah.
And you aren't just making a trendy app either. You are literally securing the digital infrastructure for an entire nation of 1.4 billion people.
Yeah, you are the absolute darling of the venture capital world, the national champion of artificial intelligence.
Exactly. But then, out of nowhere, a strategic analyst looks at your insane resume, looks you dead in the eye, and essentially says, you are thinking way too small. You suffer from a poverty of ambition.
Ouch.
Yeah. He basically says, hire me so I can show you how to actually matter.
I mean, the sheer audacity of that pitch is exactly what makes the source material we are diving into today so incredibly compelling.
It really is. We are looking at a deep dive into a highly opinionated, intensely detailed blog post from June 16th, 2026.
Written by an author named Parmendra Kumar Bhagat.
Right, and his target is this Indian AI startup called Sarvam AI. And, usually business analysis is so, I don't know, dry, detached.
Oh, yeah, very objective and corporate.
Exactly, but this author just completely bypasses that. He diagnoses the strategic shortfalls of a literal unicorn company and then seamlessly pivots into a pitch for his own consulting services.
He's the only visionary who can build them a trillion-dollar roadmap. It's wild.
It is wild. So our mission for this deep dive today is twofold for you listening. First, we really need to unpack the factual core of this document.
The real-world events happening in mid-2026.
Right. We're looking at the meteoric rise of Sarvam AI, the sudden freezing effect of global export controls on tech, and the massive flow of Middle Eastern mega capital.
It's basically the geopolitical chessboard operating in the background.
Yeah. And the second layer of our mission is to analyze the author's much larger, more provocative argument.
The claim about the tech industry being trapped in a malaise.
Exactly. He argues there's this poverty of ambition, especially in India, but with huge global implications. He insists that celebrating $1 billion valuation is just a total failure of imagination.
Because they need to aim for what he calls Solara status.
Right, which he strictly defines as a $1 trillion valuation. So this single blog post acts as this perfect magnifying glass for massive geopolitical shifts, right?
It highlights everything from artificial intelligence to the evolving nature of global finance.
Yeah.
It really shows the sheer scale of ambition you need to just avoid becoming obsolete today.
So to understand this audacious pitch to Sarvam AI, we have to set the stage for you. We need to look at the global environment that makes a domestic AI startup so critical.
And the phrase that really anchors this entire document is sovereign AI.
Sovereign AI. Let's unpack that. Why is that specific term dominating the discourse?
Well, to grasp it, we should look at the recent U.S. export restrictions that are mentioned right at the start of the blog post.
Oh, right. The Anthropic stuff.
Yeah, exactly. The author notes that Anthropic restricted access to its frontier models. So we are talking specifically about Fable 5 and Mythos 5.
And they blocked non-U.S. users entirely.
Right. The stated justification there revolves heavily around national security and the risk of hostile actors jailbreaking those models for malicious purposes.
For you listening, think about what a massive paradigm shift this is. For decades, the foundational rule of tech was that the internet was borderless.
Yeah, software was just a global commodity.
Right. If a brilliant team in San Francisco built some powerful cloud infrastructure, a developer in Bangalore or Berlin could just pull an API key, pay a few cents, and innovate. Borders didn't matter to code.
But that era really appears to be closing now.
Completely closing.
The U.S. government is treating these frontier models not as commercial software, but as dual-use strategic assets.
Like nuclear tech or advanced aerospace engineering.
Exactly. You just can't let anyone, anywhere, plug into systems that have potentially civilization-altering capabilities.
We're talking cybersecurity risks, bioweapon synthesis, advanced logistics.
Yeah, the stakes are just too high.
Yeah.
And this source actually quotes Sarvam AI's co-founder, Pratyush Kumar, on this very topic.
Oh, right. He points to those Anthropic restrictions as absolute validation for his own company. He uses a really pointed phrase, access does not equal ownership.
Access does not equal ownership. It is such a critical distinction, and so many nations are just waking up to it simultaneously.
Because accessing an API just means you are renting intelligence from a server in another jurisdiction.
Exactly.
So imagine you own this massive, sprawling farm. And to maximize your yield, you lease an incredibly advanced self-driving tractor.
Sounds like a smart move.
Right. It runs on a proprietary satellite link owned by the manufacturer. And for a few years, it's amazing. You are doubling your crop output.
Okay, I see where this is going.
Yeah, then one morning you walk out to the barn and the digital locks on the tractor have been changed remotely.
Wow. Not because you missed a payment.
Nope, not because of anything you did. It's just because the country where the manufacturer is headquartered got into a trade dispute with your government.
And just like that, your entire livelihood is paralyzed.
Instantly. You relied on a vital tool you didn't own, and you have zero recourse. So if you don't own the tools, you don't control your own food supply.
That is a perfect analogy. You translate that to the digital age, and if a nation doesn't own its foundational intelligence infrastructure, it does not control its economic destiny.
Right. A whole country's banking system, civil service, or healthcare could theoretically be bricked overnight by a foreign policy decision in Washington, D.C.
And that vulnerability is exactly what's driving this massive panic behind sovereign AI.
So relying on a foreign-owned AI model is rapidly becoming an unacceptable national security liability.
Absolutely. Extrapolating from the text, the export controls on Fable 5 and Mythos 5 are undeniable proof for countries like India that they must build domestic AI.
Because it's not about consumer apps anymore.
No, it's about fundamental digital independence. The global tech stack is just completely decoupling.
Nations are realizing that large language models are critical infrastructure. I mean, they are indistinguishable from the power grid or water sanitation.
Right, and you would never outsource the control systems of your national power grid to a foreign corporation.
No, of course not. They could just flip the switch during a diplomatic crisis. And we should definitely clarify for the listener here that we are examining this strictly through the factual lens provided by the source material.
Yes, very important point. We are not evaluating the geopolitical morality of U.S. export policies here.
Right, nor are we assessing the technical validity of the national security claims about Fable 5 being vulnerable to jailbreaking.
We are just neutrally reporting on the ripple effects. One superpower changes the rules, and the rest of the world scrambles to secure their borders.
And that scramble brings us right to the doorstep of Sarvam AI. They are the ones stepping into this vacuum in India. Let's look at their trajectory, because the numbers here map an explosive rise.
Oh, totally. This is a freshly minted unicorn. The financial details from the mid-2026 update in the blog post are highly revealing.
They just closed a massive $234 million round of funding, right?
Yeah, and the author notes this is just the first close of a targeted $300 million Series B round.
Which gives them a post-money valuation of $1.5 billion.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, what stands out to me isn't just the sheer dollar amount, it's the specific players writing the checks.
Yeah, HCLTech led this round with a $150 million strategic investment.
Which gives them roughly a 10.5% equity stake.
Right, and HCLTech is this massive, established Indian IT services and consulting company.
So their involvement signals that Sarvam isn't just appealing to, like, speculative venture capitalists.
Exactly. They're being integrated into the established backbone of Indian enterprise tech. And then you have Bessemer Venture Partners joining as a new investor, too.
Alongside existing backers like Khosla Ventures and Peak XV. And to put that $1.5 billion valuation into perspective, the source points out they raised a $41 million Series A in late 2023.
So we're looking at a valuation multiplier of roughly 7 times in under 3 years.
That is a massive leap for a company founded in August 2023.
It is. And the author details the founding DNA of the company to explain that hypergrowth. Sarvam AI was created by Dr. Vivek Raghavan and Dr. Pratish Kumar.
Right, and their backgrounds are essential here.
Yeah, because it explains why major institutional investors and the Indian government are trusting them with this level of capital. Dr. Raghavan is described as a key architect in India's digital public infrastructure.
Most notably, the Aadhaar system.
Yes.
And for anyone listening who is unfamiliar with Aadhaar, we really need to pause and explain the sheer magnitude of that project.
It's massive. It is the world's largest biometric ID system.
Right. It assigns a unique 12-digit identity number to over 1 billion Indian residents, and it's backed by fingerprint and iris scans.
And just building a database of that size, dealing with the deduplication of over 1 billion biometric profiles, well, it's a logistical nightmare.
Oh, a total nightmare. And making it secure enough to handle national welfare distribution and banking verification. Very few humans on Earth have successfully navigated that kind of engineering.
So when an investor sees the architect of Aadhaar pitching an AI company, they are not looking at some novice.
No, they are looking at someone who intrinsically understands population scale deployments.
Exactly. And Dr. Kumar complements this perfectly. He comes from AI 4-part at IIT Madras.
Which is an initiative intensely focused on building open source AI for Indian languages, right?
Yes. So you have one founder who knows how to build infrastructure for 1 billion people, and another who deeply understands the linguistic complexities of the subcontinent.
And that totally explains the staggering deployment metrics highlighted in the text. I mean, the author lists their current output. Sarvam is handling 2 million conversations and 10 million API calls daily.
They are transcribing 500,000 hours of audio every single month.
And they've digitized 35 million pages of text.
And their reach goes deep into the civic sector. They have 17 million farmers using the system through the Ministry of Agriculture.
Alongside 45 million insurance policyholders. But you know, I am looking at these numbers and I have to play the skeptic for just a moment.
Okay, lay it on me.
Yes, 17 million farmers and 45 million policyholders are huge user bases. But a $1.5 billion valuation for a company that isn't even 3 years old.
You're wondering about the hype.
Yeah. We have watched the tech industry inflate localized AI hype bubbles over and over. A startup slaps AI on their pitch deck, gets a few government memorandums of understanding, wraps a nice interface around a foreign API, and suddenly their valuation detaches from gravity.
Right, it's a common story.
So is Sarvam actually building something structurally sound, or is this just riding the sovereign AI panic?
Well, skepticism is entirely warranted when evaluating tech valuations, especially in AI. But the author provides technical details that act as a strong counterweight to the whole hype thesis.
Okay, like what?
Well, Sarvam is not building a superficial wrapper around an OpenAI or Anthropic API. They are engineering foundational models from the silicon up.
Got it.
The source specifically names their open-weight Sarvam 105B and 30B models.
Okay, let's break those terms down for the listener. What does open weight mean, and what do those numbers signify?
So open-weight essentially means the underlying parameters, the mathematical weights that dictate how the neural network makes decisions, are made publicly available.
So developers can download, inspect, and run them on their own hardware.
Exactly. This is a stark contrast to proprietary models like the ones Anthropic locked down, where you can only interact via an API, and the company keeps the math hidden on their own servers.
So if a developer downloads the Sarvam model, they actually possess the intelligence engine on their own local machine.
Yes, they do. And the numbers, 105B and 30B, refer to the parameter count, 105 billion and 30 billion parameters, respectively.
Which are the internal variables the model learned during training?
Right. And while parameter count isn't the only metric of quality, a 105 billion parameter model is a massive, highly complex engine.
I'd imagine training a model of that size from scratch, specifically on Indic data, requires tens of millions of dollars in GPU compute time.
And deep engineering expertise.
Right. And the text notes, they offer a full-stack platform. It's not just a chatbot. They have speech-to-text, text-to-speech translation, and this system called Sarvam Vision for document digitization.
Which handles handwriting in Indian scripts.
Yeah. How does an AI digitize 35 million pages of handwriting?
Well, it involves highly specialized optical character recognition, or OCR, powered by deep learning.
But standard OCR might read printed English easily, right?
Right. But India has 22 official languages using numerous distinct scripts, and they are often written by hand in varying qualities of ink on degraded paper.
Oh, wow. That sounds incredibly difficult to parse.
It is. Sarvam had to train their vision models to recognize the granular curves and nuances of Toham, Devanagari, Bengali, and others, converting pixels into machine-readable text at an industrial scale.
Furthermore, they are deeply embedded in the government's infrastructure. The source mentions that they were selected under the India AI mission for sovereign foundational models,
which grants them access to highly coveted GPU compute clusters.
They are also collaborating with states like Tamil Nadu to build a sovereign AI park and working with the agency behind Aadhaar for voice integration.
But the most crucial detail regarding their valuation and their defense against foreign disruption is their focus on on-premise, air-gapped deployments.
Yes, an air-gapped system is fascinating. It literally means there is a physical gap of air between the computer network running the AI and the outside internet.
It's completely isolated.
You cannot hack it remotely because it is not physically connected to the web.
Exactly. For defense agencies, massive financial institutions, or governments handling biometric data for a billion citizens, air gapping is a non-negotiable security requirement.
Right, you cannot send sensitive national data to a cloud server in California to be processed by an API.
You just can't. Sarvam's ability to take their 105 billion parameter model and physically install it inside a secure, walled-off data center in New Delhi, that is where their true enterprise value lies.
Okay, so synthesizing all of this, the $1.5 billion valuation reflects the reality of a world where foreign models are suddenly getting locked behind export controls.
Yeah, Sarvam is offering the infrastructure for digital self-determination for a sixth of the global population.
And that is the factual reality of their success in June 2026. Which brings us to the profound friction in this source material.
Yes, the twist.
We have a highly successful, freshly minted unicorn, fundamentally entrenched in national security, and yet the author of this blog post evaluates this mountain of success and declares it completely insufficient.
It is genuinely jarring to read. You go through this incredible catalog of achievements, massive fundraising, air-gapped security, millions of users.
And then the author drops the hammer. He introduces his concept of a malaise in Indian tech.
Right. He argues that Indian technology possesses world-class engineering talent. After all, Indian engineers are the backbone of many Silicon Valley giants.
And the country has abundant capital, as evidenced by the $234 million raise and deep government support.
Yet, despite all these advantages, the author perceives a persistent poverty of vision and ambition.
He is essentially saying, congratulations on building a $1.5 billion company. Why are you giving up so early?
Exactly. He views Sarvam AI as the ultimate embodiment of both the incredible promise and the tragic shortfall of the ecosystem. They have the sovereign capabilities, but their target is too low.
So he demands they aim for Solara status.
Yes, a Solara, in his strict definition, is a trillion-dollar powerhouse.
A unicorn is $1 billion. A Solara is 1,000 unicorns. That is a scale of wealth and influence that is almost difficult for the human brain to conceptualize.
And this leads directly into his audacious mid-article pitch. He writes, Sarvam should hire visionary outside consultants to craft a grand Solara Vision, a 10-year roadmap to trillion-dollar impact.
And the unmistakable implication, reinforced by the huge bibliography of his own work at the end of the post, is that he is the visionary consultant they need.
Oh, 100%.
I am putting myself in the shoes of a listener or even a Sarvam executive reading this post, and I am genuinely baffled by the core critique.
Oh, so?
Well, they are building custom, ground-up AI models for 1.4 billion people across 22 official languages. They are serving millions of marginalized farmers and policyholders. How can anyone look at that staggering scale of human impact and claim they suffer from diffidence?
Right, it feels counterintuitive.
What does aiming higher even look like when you are already engineering the digital brain for the world's most populous democracy?
It comes down to a profound philosophical difference in how one views the purpose of a technology company.
Okay, unpack that.
To comprehend his critique, we have to understand that the author views building competent national tools, even highly profitable ones, as a defensive posture.
So becoming a national champion is fundamentally playing it safe.
Yes, he considers capturing a market of 1.4 billion people to be playing it safe, because the critique warns against the danger of ceding the global field.
Interesting.
If Sarvam only focuses on being the dominant AI within the borders of India, they are leaving the rest of the planet on the table.
So the ambition he is demanding isn't about incrementally scaling up domestic call centers.
No, it is about achieving absolute global dominance by weaponizing a unique advantage that India inherently possesses.
And to understand what a Solara Vision actually entails, we have to examine the specific roadmap he proposes for this global dominance.
Right. The author's central thesis relies on what he calls the ultimate data moat.
Let us unpack the concept of a data moat for a second.
Sure. In AI development, the algorithms are often openly published in academic papers. Compute can be purchased if you have enough money.
So the true differentiator, the defensive moat around your business castle, is access to unique, high-quality data that your competitors cannot easily acquire.
Exactly. And the author posits that India's linguistic diversity is the ultimate data moat.
India is widely considered the world's most linguistically diverse major economy. The constitution recognizes 22 official languages, but the reality includes thousands of distinct dialects.
And the author details how training an AI on anonymized mobile conversations, public discourse, radio broadcasts, and vernacular content across this landscape creates an unparalleled dataset.
The source specifically highlights the massive challenge of code mixing.
Oh, this is a huge technical hurdle.
For anyone who hasn't heard that term, code mixing is when a speaker fluidly switches between multiple languages or dialects within a single sentence or conversation.
Yeah, it happens constantly.
Right. In India, a person might start a sentence in Hindi, insert an English technical term, use a regional slang word from Marathi, and finish with English grammar.
And from a computer science perspective, code mixing is absolute chaos.
I can imagine.
AI models learn by predicting the next logical word or token in a sequence based on massive statistical patterns. When a sentence strictly follows English grammar, the patterns are highly predictable. But when a sentence violently shifts grammatical rules and vocabularies midway through, standard natural language processing breaks down.
It is like athletic training at high altitudes.
Oh, that's a great way to put it.
If you are an athlete and you train your body to perform at peak efficiency in an environment with incredibly thin oxygen, running a race at sea level feels effortless.
Exactly.
So if Sarvam can train an AI to navigate the dizzying complexity of 22 overlapping languages, heavy accents, cultural idioms, and constant code mixing, then translating standard grammatically strict European languages must feel like a warm-up exercise.
By starting on the hardest possible difficulty setting, you are accidentally building a vastly superior universal translator.
And the author makes this exact connection.
He does. He argues that an AI architecture forced to evolve in the chaotic linguistic environment of India will naturally develop a superior capacity for generalization.
So it'll naturally dominate translation, voice interfaces, and knowledge work in hundreds of low-resource languages globally.
Right. A low-resource language is one that doesn't have a massive footprint on the internet.
Like, English is a high-resource language, obviously. There are trillions of pages of English text online to train an AI.
But many African dialects or indigenous languages globally have very little digital text available.
And the author specifically points to Africa as a highly lucrative, transferable region for this technology.
He is mapping a path where Sarvam takes the engine they built for India and licenses it across the developing world.
He also grounds this in a massive financial reality in the developed world. The text notes that major Western entities, like the city of New York, spend billions of dollars annually on translation and interpretation services.
Oh yeah, enterprises, government agencies, and global healthcare systems are desperate for reliable, multilingual AI.
So the argument fundamentally shifts the company's identity. Don't just build this to help a farmer in Punjab check the monsoon forecast.
Right. Build this so the New York City public school system pays you a massive licensing fee to automatically facilitate parent-teacher conferences for immigrant families speaking 150 different languages.
Wow. That is the bridge between a $1.5 billion national champion and a $1 trillion global Solara.
You don't just stay home. You capture immense global export revenue by leading in what the author terms voice-first, Indic-first intelligence.
And the emphasis on voice first is highly strategic, isn't it?
Absolutely. For billions of people in emerging economies, their primary entry point to the internet is not typing on a laptop keyboard.
Right. It is speaking into an inexpensive mobile smartphone.
So if you dominate the voice-first AI interface that can perfectly comprehend complex, low-resource languages,
Yeah.
you essentially own the gateway for the next few billion internet users.
That translates into massive enterprise platforms, personalized AI tutoring for billions of students, global developer tools, and deeply lucrative defense applications.
However, executing a vision of that magnitude requires a terrifying amount of capital.
Because we are moving far beyond the scope of paying for a few server racks.
We are talking about building massive global compute clusters, funding international legal and licensing teams, and constructing proprietary data centers.
A $234 million Series B round is an incredible achievement, sure, but in the context of building a $1 trillion global infrastructure company, it is little more than seed money.
Yeah, building a Solara requires an almost infinite, deeply patient pool of capital.
Which brings us to the second massive theme of the blog post, the specific entities holding the checkbooks capable of funding a $1 trillion vision in 2026.
We are talking about Middle Eastern mega capital. specifically UAE sovereign wealth funds.
Right. The author dedicates a highly detailed portion of his post to analyzing the flow of this capital. And noticeably absent from his primary thesis are the traditional venture capital firms of Silicon Valley's Sand Hill Road.
He focuses entirely on sovereign wealth funds that are leveraging historical oil-derived capital to aggressively diversify their national economies away from fossil fuels.
Which is a macroeconomic tectonic shift. It is driven by national mandates, specifically the UAE's Vision 2031, which aims to establish the country as a global hub for artificial intelligence.
And the sheer mathematical scale of the funds listed in the text is dizzying.
Let us examine the specific entities the author highlights. First up, Mubadala.
Mubadala is a massive state-owned holding company acting as one of Abu Dhabi's flagship sovereign wealth funds.
The text notes they manage roughly $330 to $385 billion in assets.
More importantly, it highlights that Mubadala committed $12.9 billion specifically to AI and digitalization initiatives in the year 2025 alone.
A nearly $13 billion single-year commitment to one sector. That is wild.
And then the author details the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, or ADIA.
Right. ADIA operates within a broader sovereign wealth ecosystem that controls over $1 trillion in assets.
What is fascinating is that the text emphasizes ADIA is not merely writing passive checks. They have assembled a 100-plus person quantitative research and development team.
They've established ADIA Lab, an independent research center focusing on data science, artificial intelligence, high-performance computing, and quantum computing.
So they are importing and building deep internal technical expertise to understand exactly what they are buying.
Then we have MGX, launched in 2024 as a dedicated technology investment vehicle with an initial target of $100 billion.
And the author points out that MGX is not operating in isolation. They are partnering with global behemoths like Microsoft and BlackRock on a potential $100 billion AI data center and energy infrastructure fund.
Finally, the text examines G42. While not a traditional sovereign wealth fund in the strictest sense, G42 is a closely government-linked AI holding company in the UAE.
The text highlights a pivotal moment in 2024 when Microsoft invested $1.5 billion into G42.
And they are developing their own sovereign AI models, specifically the J's Arabic language model, and executing massive deployments across healthcare and energy sectors.
So placing this deep dive into UAE capital immediately after his pitch to Sarvam AI makes the author's underlying thesis extremely clear.
Right. He is implying that if you want to build a Solara, traditional venture capital is structurally incapable of funding your ambition.
Exactly. To buy the raw physical compute necessary to win global dominance, you essentially need the backing of a nation-state's GDP.
And the author is directly connecting audacious ambition with the specific type of fuel required to power it. Traditional venture capital is mathematically designed for software margins.
Right, they invest a few $1,000,000.
Right.
Expect the startup to write highly scalable code with low overhead and look for a massive exit via an IPO or acquisition within 5 to 10 years.
Because software is cheap to scale. But building frontier AI infrastructure is violently expensive.
Oh, completely. Building the physical foundation for a grand Solara Vision requires hyperscale data centers sprawling across hundreds of acres.
It requires securing dedicated power plants to feed the insatiable energy demands of hundreds of thousands of GPUs.
It requires investing in proprietary silicon development. You cannot fund a new nuclear reactor or a massive data center with a standard Series C venture round.
You need patient capital.
Patient capital refers to investment funds that are entirely divorced from the pressure of quick quarterly returns.
Sovereign wealth funds are investing on a timeline of decades, not financial quarters.
Right. They are willing to deploy tens of billions of dollars up front and wait 20 years for the strategic return, because their goal is the survival and diversification of their nation's economy.
They are methodically recycling petrodollars into the fundamental digital infrastructure of the 21st century.
Now, the text is not entirely utopian about this, though. It does highlight the massive risks involved in these mega projects.
Yeah, it explicitly mentioned the geopolitical tensions, the ongoing tech decoupling between the U.S. and China,
and the staggering execution risks inherent in building infrastructure on this scale. It even notes concerns about a potential AI financial bubble.
Because the geopolitical reality is a massive hurdle. The text notes that when UAE funds execute these deals, they must meticulously balance their heavy focus on U.S. partnerships with strict technology access protocols and national security controls.
They are constantly navigating the very same U.S. export restrictions that sparked Sarvam AI's rise in the first place.
But the author's overarching point remains. If Sarvam AI or any ambitious tech company wants to transition from a highly successful national tool to a trillion-dollar global empire,
They must align with this specific caliber of capital. They require the cross-border infrastructure partnerships that only massive nation-state wealth can facilitate.
so, stepping back from the granular mechanics of Sarvam AI and sovereign wealth funds, the blog post itself serves another vital function.
Yes, it is a window into the mind of the author, Paramendra Bhagat, and by extension, a window into the broader technological zeitgeist of the year 2026.
When you look at the periphery of this blog post, the sidebars, the linked articles, the bibliography, what does it reveal about the era we are analyzing?
It reveals a worldview obsessed with scale, infrastructure, and a near-prophetic belief in technological acceleration. The author lists an extensive catalog of his own books and blog posts.
The titles alone construct a vivid picture of his philosophy. I mean, the bibliography is intense.
Yeah, he lists titles like 1,000 Solaras in 10 years, which reinforces his demand for massive scale.
There is physical AWS, how the logistics cloud will reshape global commerce, and Himalayan compute, grand Solara Vision.
He also highlights a piece called Agentic AI, set to explode in 2026.
Let us synthesize these concepts. Agentic AI refers to artificial intelligence that doesn't just answer questions, but actively takes agency.
Right, planning multi-step tasks, executing software commands, and operating semi-autonomously to achieve goals.
And physical AWS suggests he is thinking about taking the frictionless, on-demand scaling of cloud computing and applying it to the messy physical world of global logistics and energy grids.
And then there's Himalayan compute.
Himalayan compute is a particularly evocative phrase.
It really is. It implies leveraging extreme geography, perhaps the massive hydroelectric potential or the natural cooling environments of the Himalayas, to power and cool the unimaginably massive data centers required for the future of AI.
He is not theorizing about releasing another smartphone app. He's theorizing about terraforming the physical world to support limitless digital intelligence.
This heavily contextualizes his audacity in pitching Sarvam AI. He isn't just a business consultant seeking a retainer fee.
Right. He is a person who views the future entirely through a lens of hyperabundance, driven by limitless compute and sovereign technology.
He sees a world where building a company is a mundane concept. He wants to build a trillion-dollar sun, which aligns with another of his book titles, Lumina AI.
And the sidebar news articles from June 2026 included in the source material perfectly reinforce this feeling of a world accelerating at breakneck speed, fraught with friction.
Looking at that sidebar is like checking the vital signs of the planet in mid-2026.
You have headlines announcing Tesla's Cybercab rollout and Mobileye entering the U.S. robotaxi market.
You have a massive legal headline regarding the Department of Justice backing Elon Musk's XAI in a lawsuit concerning data center pollution.
And that specific data center pollution lawsuit highlights the fundamental physical friction of the AI boom. The theoretical intelligence of AI is colliding violently with the environmental and physical realities of the power grid.
Because training these models requires massive amounts of electricity and water for cooling.
The sidebar also captures the chaotic geopolitical environment. It mentions a Vox article discussing the Iran war's end, a piece about a U.S.-Iran peace deal suddenly boosting risk appetite in the crypto markets, and mentions of Trump tariffs impacting global trade.
These headlines prove that the author's grand Solara Vision does not exist in a vacuum. He is theorizing within a world that is highly volatile, intensely energy-constrained, and politically fractured.
In this chaotic environment, his argument for building massive, secure, air-gapped, sovereign infrastructure suddenly feels less like the hubris of a consultant and more like a necessary survival strategy for a nation.
It's important to note, though, we are observing the author's inclusion of these geopolitical events strictly as a reflection of the era's complexity.
Yes, absolutely. We take absolutely no stance on the political validity of these topics, the tariffs, the peace deals, the data center lawsuits, or even his book subtitles mentioning AOC 2028.
We are just reporting what's there. They simply provide the chaotic backdrop that the author believes necessitates audacious trillion-dollar ambition.
And it is a deeply philosophical stance. The author frequently mentions Kalkism in his book list, alongside subtitles promising the age of abundance and global redemption.
Kalki is the prophesied 10th avatar of the Hindu god Vishnu, believed to appear at the end of the current epoch to end darkness and begin a new golden age.
So by tying concepts like calciism to technological development, the author frames technology not merely as a sector for financial investment.
Right, but as a near-prophetic tool for the advancement of human civilization.
The opening line of his blog post explicitly sets this tone. The impending age of abundance was prophesied in the scriptures thousands of years ago.
He genuinely believes that artificial intelligence, massive sovereign compute clusters, and these Solara megaprojects are the physical mechanisms that will deliver this prophesied era of abundance.
It perfectly explains why he views Sarvam's $1.5 billion valuation as a tragic shortfall.
In his worldview, Sarvam is not supposed to be building enterprise software. They're supposed to be building the cognitive infrastructure for a new epoch of human capability.
Anything less than a trillion-dollar ambition is a failure to fulfill their destiny.
It is a monumental scale of thinking, blending cutting-edge computer science, global finance, and deeply rooted philosophical destiny.
It really is. And to bring this massive exploration to a close, let us review the ground we have covered. We began with the factual reality of a $234 million Series B fundraise for a Bangalore startup.
We traced how the geopolitical lockdown of 2026, driven by U.S. export controls on frontier models like Fable 5 rendered Sarvam AI's fully sovereign, air-gapped infrastructure, an absolute national security necessity.
We examine the mechanical reality of their massive deployments, digitizing tens of millions of pages and serving millions of citizens, anchored by founders experienced in building population-scale infrastructure like Aadhaar.
We then unpacked the author's deeply provocative critique of the entire ecosystem, defining the massive chasm between being a billion-dollar national champion and a trillion-dollar global Solara.
We explored the sheer brilliance of the 22-language data moat, understanding how training AI on the chaotic reality of code mixing acts as high-altitude training.
Potentially creating a universal translator capable of dominating low-resource languages worldwide.
And we analyzed the massive scale of Middle Eastern sovereign wealth, identifying the hundreds of billions of patient petrodollars serving as the only viable fuel capable of funding the immense physical infrastructure that these trillion-dollar visions demand.
It has been an incredible journey from a single audacious blog post to the very edges of global technological strategy.
Thank you to everyone listening for joining us on this deep dive. But before you go, I want to leave you with one final lingering thought that builds on the mechanics of everything we have discussed today. We've spent this time talking about massive data moats, aggressive export controls, and trillion-dollar ambitions built on physical infrastructure. But consider the core of the author's argument regarding language. If the future of artificial intelligence relies so heavily on understanding the nuances, the slang, the cultural idioms, and the messy code mix reality of human communication, and nations are simultaneously walling off their digital borders, what happens to the global balance of power when an AI trained on the deepest linguistic complexities of the global south becomes the default universal translator for the entire world? Will the next trillion-dollar empire be built not on the pristine standardized code we type into a machine, but on a machine that finally understands how to actively listen to 1,000 different tongues? Think about it. We'll catch you next time.